Hey everybody, and welcome to the Audacious Coddiwomplers. This is episode 1, and it's our 2024 year in review. We're going to go through our entire year, catch you up with where we are, give you our favorites that we experienced along the way, and get ready for 2025 in the coming weeks.
2024 started off a little bit different than we normally travel because we were making some changes to our travel arrangements and living situation.
Yeah, when we thought we were going to be living in a van and we were trying to transition out of a travel trailer, that all kind of got a little messy towards the beginning of the year, but we will get to that. We're going to start off in the beginning of the year. We were in Murfreesboro, Tennessee at the tail end of Whitney's contract.
Yeah, I think I had technically 1 week of that contract left when we started the year.
I don't know if anybody's been to that area. We were staying in Smyrna, Tennessee at the I-24 campground. It's a little difficult at times to get into that campground, but overall, if you're ever looking for a campground in that area of Tennessee, I think we were both fairly happy with I-24. There wasn't a whole lot of disturbances in there. The area isn't all that bad, and the campground itself is nice and large. I enjoyed walking Sandy around, and it was large enough that I didn't feel like I was doing tiny circles the entire time.
And for those of you that don't know, Sandy is our 12-year-old rat Wawa, aka Rat Terrier Chihuahua mix, who's been traveling with us for the past 5.5 years.
So we were in Smyrna. Whitney was working her contract in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and we were already in the process of building our camper van. We were just waiting for it to be completed so that we could, quote unquote, move into it, because we were going to be van lifers, like 100% full on committed van lifers.
Until we went to New York to pick it up. And
yeah, we'll get to that. We ended up finishing that contract and decided that Whitney wanted to go to Mammoth Cave, which is Mammoth Cave National Park, right?
Yeah, and I think like a week before I was supposed to start my next job, and the busybody that I am always have to have something planned.
So we went up to Mammoth Cave. If you ever want to go to that area, I think there are multiple choices as far as campgrounds go. I don't remember because it's been a little while since we've been there. We stayed at Singing Hills RV Park in Cave City, and I think we were both fairly happy with it. The weather wasn't great, so it was kind of wet. It was kind of muddy. We didn't get to walk around it a whole lot, but the owners were very nice, and the campground itself was clean. It definitely wasn't a resort. You're not going to confuse it for a nice big Jellystone or KOA, but for what we needed it for, it was fine for parking and going into the national park.
It was also quiet, which we both really like, and it was really close to the national park, which for those that don't know, Mammoth Cave National Park is in Kentucky, so it was only maybe a 3-hour drive from where we had been staying, which is why I decided we were going to go there.
It wasn't bad to get up there. We took the travel trailer to get up there. I think we enjoyed Mammoth Cave. It was interesting to go to Mammoth Cave and do the cave tour. We did a couple of hikes through the woods over there. Again, I don't remember the weather being all that terrific, so I think it was kind of one of those things we were trying to squeeze stuff in as the weather permitted, and I think we did pretty well for only being there for...
I was going to see if you remember. We ended up only having 1 full day there because my start date for my next job ended up getting pushed forwards, and we had to leave. I think we ended up having a day and a half total, and then had to leave partway through the second day to get to my next job on the Monday after or something like that.
I remember having to leave early, but of course I was going to say, yeah, we were there for like 2 or 3 days, but no, it was more like 1, and then we had to turn around and go back. We enjoyed that pretty well, but as Whitney just said, her next contract was starting, and that was in Columbia, Tennessee. So we left Mammoth Cave National Park, headed back to Tennessee to go start her contract. in Columbia. And during that time, we had gotten lined up for her next contract. All of this was kind of just stacked up on top of one thing after another. We didn't necessarily want to spend any more time in Columbia than we really had to. We kind of wanted to go to an area that we thought we would enjoy more. And these jobs were kind of just placeholders and places where Whitney could make money while we were waiting to see what our next transition was going to be. Again, we had the van to consider, but she ended up getting a contract lined up for Coos Bay, Oregon. And when she got that contract, we were 100% fully intending on going to Coos Bay, working that contract, being in the trailer. But during this time in February, we actually made our trip up to Canandaigua, New York to pick up our travel trailer. Our van, sorry. And this is where the drama begins.
To start, we got into the van for the first time, and I work night shift. So while I'm sleeping during the day, Jake is taking care of all the not fun chores, such as cooking, grocery shopping, laundry, all those fun things. And we got into the van, and his first reaction was, I think, just, I cannot do these things while you're sleeping less than a foot away from me and not bother you and you get a decent day/night of sleep.
Yeah, it was just one of those. I wasn't going to be comfortable doing my day-to-day stuff, so I didn't want to be the person that wakes Whitney up when she's trying to sleep and recovering from a 12-hour night shift, and then her wake up and not be able to go back to sleep. It would just be a whole thing. I also, just a small space. You get in a van, it's one thing if you're in a van and you're actively doing things, but if you've got somebody sleeping in bed that you're trying not to bother and you just kind of have to sit in one of the swivel seats 5 feet away from them and twiddle your thumbs, and I don't have a remote job, so it's not like I could just consume myself on a computer with work and kind of disappear into that. So yeah, we started having a little bit of buyer's remorse. I think knee-jerk reaction. Actually, I know our knee-jerk reaction was, we're going to sell the van. We don't want the van. We can't live in the van. We ended up being in Canandaigua. We wanted to be up there to shake down the van upon receiving it. We've been in our travel trailer long enough to know, and we've been around travel trailers long enough to know that there's always going to be an issue. And we were hoping that we could stay up in New York long enough for at least one issue to arise while we were up there. And fortunately, or unfortunately, we developed a leak, I believe, in the first 24 hours. But the builder was very kind and came in on the weekend, the owner actually, in order to replace the fitting where there was a little rubber gasket that had pinched and was allowing water to leak out of the fitting. I don't remember, were there any other issues?
Not that I can remember off the top of my head.
I think the leak was the biggest thing. We ended up staying in New York for about a week. We were staying with a family friend. She was kind enough to let us park in her driveway / in her front yard while we were waiting to see what all was going to be an issue with the van.
And sleep at her house while we didn't have the van.
So it was definitely a nice contact to have up there. Thank you very much, Heidi. So we got the van and we ended up turning around and going back to Tennessee, kind of with our tails between our legs, feeling a little bit defeated. We had all this time for anticipation and we built this custom van and we had all these expectations, and it kind of all crumbled around us when we realized, oh darn, we don't think we can actually live in the van. So we come back to Tennessee. We're kind of flitting around a little bit still, trying to figure out what to do with the van. We actually list the van on a couple of different sites in order to sell the van, all while trying to figure out what are we going to do with the van while we go to Coos Bay to work this contract, and eventually, unfortunately, have to cancel the Coos Bay contract because we ended up developing another issue with the van where one of our flares, you have flares on the side of vans sometimes where they essentially cut a hole in the side of the van and put a cap on the side of it so that it extends that space slightly. And we have one on each side. And one of those flares decided that one night while it was raining, it was going to start dripping on Whitney's head. So when you have a leak like that, it's kind of something that you have to have fixed immediately. So in order to have the van taken care of, we canceled Coos Bay and returned to New York in order to have the flare looked at and essentially recalked in order to waterproof it and seal it up. They did that. We got that figured out. While we were there, actually, I did want to make sure I mentioned while we were in New York, there was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful little coffee shop that we ended up going to that was called Working Class Coffee. And I don't even remember, Whitney's not going to remember what city they were in. I can look real quick so that if anybody ever wants an excellent cup of coffee. And we both really enjoyed their breakfast sandwiches.
I think they were in Canandaigua.
They are, as I'm pulling this up now. It's actually Canandaigua. So if you're ever in the middle, essentially the middle of nowhere, New York.
It's not. It's the Finger Lakes region.
It's the Finger Lakes region, I guess. Yeah, it's not that far away from, of course, my map's not going to load, so I can't see which lake this is to tell you which lake that it's near. But Canandaigua is in the Finger Lakes region, and if you're ever in that area, Working Class Coffee is a fantastic little spot for your coffee needs, and definitely a breakfast sandwich.
I'm also going to contradict you a little bit real quick and say I don't think it was the flare that made us cancel the contract. The flare was an extra trip to New York, but we were still going to go to Coos Bay, but then we started having issues with the toilet.
Yeah,
and that's when we ended up canceling the contract.
We did start having issues with the toilet. We had a hose that was leaking, so we were having urine leak into a compartment in our van because we decided we wanted to go the complex route of having a sliding toilet so that we don't have to have a wet bath and straddle a toilet in the shower. Whitney ended up finding amazing pictures of somebody else who had done a van build where they had a hidden compartment where their toilet was on sliders and you could actually slide it into the wall, essentially. Ours is underneath our fridge, but you could slide it under the fridge to put it away and have your entire shower accessible when you wanted to shower. And then when it was time to use the toilet, you opened your compartment, unlocked the sliders, and brought your toilet into the shower for use. And it was there when you needed it, but you could put it away when you didn't need it. And we had definite issues with the hoses leaking. The door, you go to open the lid on the toilet, and that was interfering with the door. It's a whole thing. If you listen to this and you're like, oh, this sounds really interesting, I'd like to see what that looks like, or I don't understand what they're saying at all, don't worry. If you ask, we can post pictures and we can show you what we did. If you're ever interested in building a van and you want to go through I say headache, but even using it now, I'm really glad we have the sliding toilet. I think it's fantastic.
And my biggest piece of advice now is if you ever do think you want to do a van, rent one first. That way you can kind of figure out what layout you like and what's important and what's not.
Yeah, it's the same thing with an RV. Rent an RV before you decide you want to buy an RV. I guess there's a lot of stuff that goes with it that you're not going to know until you get into it. So you kind of just need to get into it to do it. But getting back to our year, we ended up deciding that we were going to keep the van. We fixed all of our problems for the most part. We got everything where it needed to be. And we said, we're going to keep the van. We're going to travel with the trailer and we're going to see how it works. And we're just going to use it for small trips here and there, weekend, 3, 4, 5 day type things. And during this time, we ended up securing a contract in
Laconia, New Hampshire.
Laconia, New Hampshire, much to the dismay of myself, where I'm always afraid to go to a new place and I'm always hesitant to go to a new place and I never know if I'm going to like a new place. So we ended up.
Jake is more of a creature of habit than I am, which is saying something.
Yeah, very much creature of habit.
And we had spent a large portion of 2023 in the PNW, kind of Crescent City, California, and fell in love with the area. So that's why we were trying so hard to go back to the Oregon coast and headed to Coos Bay.
Yeah, we wanted to go to the Oregon coast. We wanted to be back in the PNW. We really liked that area. So we really wanted to be over there. But as we're going to get to, having the Laconia contract was actually, I don't want to say a blessing in disguise, but it turned out way better than I expected. And I think it might have turned out better than even Whitney necessarily expected.
It turned out way different than I expected, and I really enjoyed it.
So we ended up getting to Laconia on April 20th of 2024, and we were staying at Pine Hollow Campground. Laconia is a seasonal tourist type town that essentially most of the city shuts down during the winter. They get a pretty rough winter. None of the campgrounds are prepared for the winter. They're not winterized. All of them, except for maybe one, shut down for the winter, and even the one that stays open during the winter, we heard they only maintain a couple of spots. So it's not a great area to try to be for the winter in a trailer if you're not self-supported with a wood-burning stove, and even then it gets difficult because you don't have water. So if you can provide your own water, then maybe I could say you could make it work, but essentially Laconia, New Hampshire, and that entire area is a fair weather, seasonal type place.
Most campgrounds in most of the Northeast, there are obviously some exceptions, but most of the campgrounds up in that area don't even open for the season until some in the early May, and then a lot of them, their opening weekend is Memorial Day. So we were lucky enough to find a Pine Hollow campground that both opened early in May and had, I think when we made the reservation, I think they had 2 seasonal spots left, and we were able to get one of them and book it for the season, which was awesome because we've wanted to go back to the Northeast for a while because we had been there before, but it's really difficult to line up securing a contract in an area you want to go to and being able to find a campground and all the dates line up. It's really difficult. So we got kind of lucky with this one.
Yeah, and Whitney's always been the one to play the juggling game of figuring out where's the contract going to be, when's it going to be, how are we going to get there, are the days working out correctly, is this when we want to be there. As the stay-at-home dog husband dad, I have definitely not carried my weight in figuring out where we were going to go and when we were going to go there. But like I said, we got there in April, late April. Whitney at one point got it in her head that she wanted to purchase a paddleboard, and that was going to be our thing for the lakes region that we were in. And again, don't be too surprised, I was hesitant. I wasn't sure what to think about a paddleboard. I didn't know how I felt. about the family going out on a paddleboard. Now, when I say this, you're thinking, oh, Jake's going to have a paddleboard and Whitney's going to have a paddleboard, and the dog will just get left at home, or the dog will be with one of them on one of their paddleboards. No, 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 no. That's not how this family works. Sandy cannot be separated from her people. So we were looking at a paddleboard large enough in order to have 2 full-grown adults on it, plus
with a cooler of beer.
With a cooler of beer, plus a 12-pound booger. So we made our purchase, got our paddleboard, went out for our first day. Do you remember what the lake was? The name of the lake that we went out for the first time?
Wakawan.
Went out on Lake Wakawan in Laconia, New Hampshire, and it was an experience. We obviously hadn't figured out how we wanted to handle the paddleboard, how we wanted to organize ourselves. We didn't realize that we had no idea.
There was a lot of pouting.
There was a lot of
Jake's end.
There was a lot of pouting on my end.
And a lot of questioning on Sandy's end.
I was a big baby. I thought I wanted to stand, but standing doesn't work that great when you've got other people and other dogs on the paddleboard moving around and disrupting your base that you're using for your balance. So that was interesting. I almost fell. I might have gotten a little attitudey and a little snarky with Whitney. She didn't appreciate it. I apologized. We had a good day.
And bear in mind, I don't think you said, this is an inflatable paddleboard that we bought because it's traveling with us and we don't really have the means to put like a cardboard on a roof anywhere without making some modifications to things. So I decided we were just going to get an inflatable and be able to put it in the garage of the van. So we did that, and we actually ended up getting 2 paddleboards because of a sale that the company was doing. So we did one time try going out on separate paddleboards, and I think both the dog and I might have ended up in the water while she was trying to get to Jake and I was trying to get to her.
Yeah, it's
or
very
something
possible.
Like that.
The brand is actually Isle, ISLE paddleboards. The boards that they make, we don't have a lot of experience with other boards. We don't have any experience with other inflatable boards. The board that we got was very stable, very rigid. I never felt like the board was flexing beneath us. I'm a solid 205 pounds. Whitney is a 5'10"?
No.
5'8"?
Yes.
Whitney is not a short woman. She is athletically built. So there was a fairly significant amount of weight on the
stout woman. Thank you very much.
As the man at the gym once told Whitney while she was doing pull-ups, she is a stout woman. So there was a lot of human on that board. And then you throw Sandy at it, and then you throw a cooler full of beer. I say a cooler full of beer. We had at best 6 beers, 6 16-ounce beers in a soft-sided cooler with ice packs in it. So, I mean, we're talking, not more than 400 pounds, right? Call me 200, call you $150.
170. Don't lie to people.
And then between the dog and the beer, I mean, we're not pushing 400 pounds on the board. So we got all that on the board, and I thought the board was fantastic. The board fit in the back of the van very well. We never had to worry about using the car, really, but the board would have fit in the back of the Subaru if we needed it to fit. It would have taken some rearranging, but we also have a Subaru Crosstrek, and I feel like it would have fit in the Subaru just fine. So the board was compact as it's an 8 or 9 foot board, or a 10-foot board.
11 and a half, I think.
Okay, 11 and a half. So, I mean, big board. It's on paper, I think they say it's 3 feet wide. I think when you look at it in person, it's hard to comprehend that it's 3 feet wide. It doesn't quite look that wide. But we had that and ended up loving it. Spent the entire summer on the paddleboard. Every day that we had the sunshine and the time to go out, that's what we did. There are so many lakes in that area that you can go to. There are So many good spots to go. There's so much, I say there's so much good beer. I don't feel like we ever had a hard time going to Case and Keg, which is the essentially bottle shop in Laconia, or what was the city to the north of us?
Meredith.
Meredith was to the north of us. Both cities have a Case and Keg, and that's essentially your best place to go if you need 4 packs of beer, 6 packs of beer, wine. They have liquor. It was just an all-around good package store for that area. And I mean, you could get Shilling if you're at all familiar with the beer scene in that area of the country. Shilling does fantastic lagers. We didn't get a lot of other half, but they did get other half distributed there. There were a few brands that did pretty decent pale ales. We don't drink a lot of the higher alcohol type stuff. We don't drink double IPAs. We were sticking mostly to dry hopped pilsners, traditional pilsners, lagers, pale ales whenever we could get them, and an IPA every once in a while.
And some delicious Czech dark lagers.
One of
which is shockingly good for a paddleboard beer, which is kind of unexpected.
Yeah, don't be scared of the dark beer. Dark Czech lagers are fantastic. You get just a little bit of that roasty, chocolatey goodness, but it's not overpowering, and you end up cracking one open on the paddleboard on a nice hot day, and you go, holy cow, this is delicious. I wish we had brought more. But during this time, as people will grow to learn about us, on Friday, June 2nd, 2023, it was National Donut Day. And Whitney and I decided that we were going to go to Portland, Maine, and partake in the donuts for National Donut Day, as I'm getting a glare right now because I ruined Donut Day.
Maybe one of the most disappointing experiences with Jake in our 13 years together.
So I can eat a lot of food. It's not hard for me to eat a lot of food, but Donut Day, I think the sugar might have had a cumulative effect on me. I didn't quite respond to it as well as one would have hoped, and I tapped out after our third or fourth spot.
I think you made it farther than that.
I'm not even looking at my notes to see where all we went and how many places we made it through before I ended up having a tummy ache and just couldn't eat anymore, but it was an entire thing. Do you still even have your notes?
I lie. You only made it through 4 places before you tapped out and had to take a break before we ate the donuts from the 5th place.
Do you have your notes, or are you looking at pictures?
I still have the note that I made.
All right. So, do you have the notes about... Did we even rank them? Is that in the notes?
I think that was on my Instagram post. I did put our rating, like, out of 10 for each place, but I guess technically I could just order them that way. Our least favorite was Tony's Donut Shop, which was just like a really generic donut. And that was the one that, I asked for a specific kind of donut. And
is that the one where we went in and asked for one and she said they're being thawed right now, or they just got thawed, they were frozen?
I asked if I could have, I don't know, it was like a chocolate covered or something. And the employee was like, oh, we don't have those ready yet. They're being thawed and we'll get them glazed or iced or something. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, we were kind of turned off whenever she said that they were being thawed, that they were frozen before. Look, there might not be anything wrong with that. It's just a personal preference type thing. We don't want frozen donuts, especially when you go to the donut shop. I'd rather have a fresh donut. I'll take a day-old donut if you want to give it to me for a couple of cents off, but I certainly don't want a frozen donut. So, yeah, Tony's, if you're ever in the area, I think Tony's is a local place. It's been around for a long time. A lot of people might recommend it. I don't think they were bad. I think they're a really good, just generic, run-of-the-mill donut.
And we have really high... No, we have expectations, but I think we're reasonable.
I think we're reasonable. We're not asking for the world. I think we also kind of know what we like at this point, and Tony's just wasn't it. So we're going to give you some other options that we think you would like better, but we don't think Tony's is it.
So we won't talk about all of them. If you want to hear about all of them, you can go read my Instagram post. My handle, I think, is Whitney_Siegel. Pretty simple. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But our favorites were 88 donuts.
88 was the mini donuts.
Yes.
And we got the 007.
Yes.
I think is what it was. I can't go off memory and tell you what it was.
Don't worry, I have it written down. It was maple icing with bourbon cream and candied bacon.
It was really good. We had gotten pretty far along at that point, and I think if I had it in me, I would have gotten more from them because they had a cookies and cream. They had a couple of other flavors. I would have happily gotten the 007 again, but I knew we had more donuts that we were looking down the barrel at, so we couldn't get more mini donuts, but that one was really good. They're fresh mini donuts. When you order them, they make them there, they dress them up. We've been to other places and they're kind of stingy with the toppings and they're not that great when you get them and you see them and you're kind of like, really? That's it? I didn't feel that way at 88 Donuts.
Definitely not.
I felt like they were decorated and topped very, very well. They were hot and fresh. They were delicious. I would go there happily again.
And then so we gave them a 10 out of 10, and then our other 10 out of 10 was Hi-Fi Donuts.
Hi-Fi Donuts was good. You're not going to mention the potato donuts.
You loved the potato donuts, the Holy Donut.
The Holy Donut, I liked way more than Whitney. It was a moist and dense, very cake-like donut, but it was a potato-based donut. And
Which we've never had anywhere else before. I don't know if it's a thing anywhere else, but
don't know if it's a thing anywhere else. I really enjoyed it. It's a heavier donut. It might have been sweeter.
And kind of chewy.
It was it was dense. It was moist. It had it was toothsome. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fantastic. But I also think it was a little heavier, a little sweeter, a little just more than really what Whitney prefers. It was definitely a more me style donut. But back to Hi-Fi Donuts.
They did, I'm trying to remember, I didn't write it down, but they did maybe 4 styles of donuts. I think they did cake.
Did they do crowlers? Crawlers?
I don't remember. I don't think we got one.
They did yeast raised.
I don't remember. They did like 4 different styles, and we got 2 or 3 different ones, and they were all really good. And they also did some really cool flavors. One of the ones that we got was a lemon and lavender laced cake donut.
That was the cake donut that we got. Their cake donut was fantastic. We like lemon and lavender. That's one of our favorite combinations. So we were already sold on that. It wasn't soapy. And the cake donut itself, I think I've always been more of a cake donut person. I think Whitney's coming around on cake donuts. And I thought it was a very good donut. We also got the yeast raised. We just got the regular glazed yeast raised, didn't we?
It was
or was it a honey glazed or something?
Yeast.
Honey dipped yeast. It was good. It's hard to go from a lemon lavender cake donut to a glazed yeast raised donut and really be blown away, unless you're lucky enough to be in Baton Rouge and you have Mary Lee Donuts at your disposal and you can get a Mary Lee glazed donut. Then I mean that's the donut. There is no other donut in the world. If you've ever had a fresh Mary Lee glazed donut, there's nothing else. I don't want to hear your arguments. They don't matter. That's the only answer. I'm sorry.
Krispy Kreme does not compare. Stay out of here with that garbage.
Yeah, Krispy Kreme is not the same. They're good. I won't deny that they're good. They're good, but they're not.
And their sign is never on.
Their sign's never on. They're harder to get, but we won't get into that. That's a whole nother issue. So we finished donut day. I ended up tapping out and we ended up going back and revisiting some donuts that we actually had Hi-Fi in the bag while I was recovering from my tummy ache. And then we ate Hi-Fi and decided, holy cow, these are delicious. We need more, but they were closed already. So we went through the rest of our day in Portland. I believe that might have been the same Portland trip where we got a ticket for parking in a handicap spot.
Accidentally.
We don't make a habit out of doing this. It was marked kind of weird. We were looking for a spot near Oxbow Brewing and saw a spot. We were like, yay, a spot on the street where we can park, because we'd already been in, I think, 2 other parking lots that were either paid parking or for permit holders only. And then we saw a spot on the curb that wasn't painted and didn't have, I want to say, any obvious signs, but there were signs once we got outside and looked around a little bit closer once we realized we had a ticket. But that was fun. We like Oxbow a lot. You'll hear more about Oxbow in a little while and their delicious food truck that they have there. If you're ever in the area, go to Oxbow, go to Vendretti's? Well, now I want to know. We're here. I just want to make sure I say it correctly. Oxbow, if you've ever been, is essentially, if you're a beer person, you might know what I'm talking about. Oxbow makes mostly saisons. They do lagers. They don't do a lot of hazies and hip styles. They're more on the niche side. But if you ever go to Oxbow, they have a fantastic food truck, at least they did, called Vendretti's, where they make a smash burger, and it is the best smash burger in Portland. I know there are other places to get burgers in Portland, and everybody has their favorite burger, and everybody has an opinion on what makes a good burger. Vendretti's is the best burger in Portland. Moving on.
Bear in mind, it's the only smash burger in Portland that we've had, so we don't have a comparison, but it would be hard to beat.
It would be really hard to beat.
But if you have any others that we need to try when we're back in the area, let us know.
Yeah, feel free to tell me that I'm wrong and that there's a better burger. We've probably seen it on Google Maps. We are heavy Google Map users. We scour Google Maps looking for places. It's how we discover most of the places that we go. We definitely go off of ratings and hold very high opinion of places that have high ratings. Yes, you can be disappointed sometimes with places that have high ratings, but that's part of the game. So, we leave Portland, we go back to Laconia, we do more of the same. Whitney works, Jake does laundry and cooks, Sandy does Sandy things. We continue on the paddleboard, and eventually it is time for us to leave Laconia in October on the 23rd and make our way back to Tennessee for a family member of mine's wedding.
Okay, but before we leave Laconia...
Yeah?
Can we just talk about lakes for a minute?
We can talk about lakes. I didn't know if you wanted to get into lakes or not.
So I fully intended to go back through all of my photos, which there's like a billion of on my phone, and figure out some of our favorite lakes, because Jake doesn't remember things, so he's not going to be helpful with this at all. But he'll remember things as I say them.
I will, hopefully.
One of our favorite lakes, and I think this was for both of us, was Lake Wickwass. Do you remember which one that was?
Refresh me.
Lake Wickwass is the one that was 10 minutes from the trailer.
And so was Wakawan.
No. Wakawan is a different one. Wickwass. Wickwass is the one. One of the reasons it's one of my favorites is because we always saw loons there. I think the most loons we saw at one time was 5.
Is this the one where I left Sandy's flotation device?
Yes. That is the one.
Okay. Yeah, that was a good one. We went to it a lot. It was close to the trailer. It was always dependable. If we didn't want to get too far away and we didn't have a lot of time, we could go over there. It was small. It was never super busy.
It was never busy at all. I think they probably had either a horsepower or speed limit for motorboats, but we never saw more than like 1 or 2 boats on it, and they were always super small, just putzing around, because it's just like a bunch of locals.
Yeah, if you've ever been on a paddleboard, you know that boats are the enemy of paddleboards, especially some of these lakes that we avoided that were larger, that had these wakeboard boats that would go past, and it felt like you were in 20-foot storm surges. When you're trying to stay afloat and make sure that one person doesn't go off one end of the boat and the dog doesn't go off the other end, and you don't lose your Bluetooth speaker, and Whitney doesn't lose her phone because she needs to take pictures of everything while we're out there, because if you didn't take a picture of a loon, did you even see a loon?
If you didn't take a picture from the paddleboard, did you even get on the paddleboard?
Nope. Of course not. But yes, we definitely did enjoy that one. They don't have a ton of parking for the lake itself. There's a boat launch where you can't actually park on the side of the road where the boat launch is, and on the other side of the road, realistically, there's only space for 5 vehicles. If everyone parks exactly where they need to park, you might be able to get 6, but we never saw many people there. It never got that crowded. I don't think it was
had an
super
issue
popular.
parking. So that was probably our most visited lake. And then we really liked Silver Lake. We went there a couple of times. Silver Lake, there's a couple Silver Lakes in New Hampshire. We went to the one up near, I think the address for it is technically Madison, but it's near Chicora and Ossipee or West Ossipee. And I don't know if I'm saying any of these words right, so I apologize if I'm not.
You know what I think of when you say Ossipee?
What?
Ossipee's where Eldridge is.
No.
No?
Tamworth.
Tamworth.
But it's the same area.
Okay.
So you're not far off. But Silver Lake, do you remember what you left at Silver Lake?
Our towel?
Your favorite towel.
Yeah, I leave stuff everywhere we go. It's how I mark my territory.
So we really liked that lake. It was a lot bigger. One of the days we went out, it was super windy, if I remember correctly. So we had to be really cognizant of where we ended up to make sure we were able to paddle back to the van before we got stranded in the lake in the dark.
Yeah, wind is rough. When you got 2 people that take up a lot of space, the wind affects you a lot. We don't mind the workout, having to paddle back to the boat ramp to get loaded back up, but you feel kind of hopeless, I think was the phrase that I would use when we were out on the water.
You feel kind of hopeless.
I would feel, you just kind of feel like you're paddling and paddling and paddling and paddling, and if you're away from the shore and you don't have anything right next to you to kind of give you an idea about how much you're moving, you get an idea that you're not moving. So you kind of start to feel...
I never felt hopeless.
We were out of beer.
I had a blast the entire time.
We were out of beer and we weren't moving, and darkness was going to fall upon us, and it was dinner time and we didn't bring snacks. So if you ask me, it was near the end of the world type situation. But we liked Silver Lake. What else do you have?
I would say 2 other favorites, and I'm struggling right now to get my maps to load. Crystal Lake is the name of it. Again, I think there's a couple of Crystal Lakes in New Hampshire. Crystal Lake is the one that was like 30 or 45 minutes. The first time we went to Crystal Lake, I think, if I remember correctly, is also the first time we went to Lone Oak ice cream.
Okay.
Because we were going to go out on the lake. Tell me if I'm wrong. We were going to go out on the lake, and it was a cooler day, and we were getting out there a little bit earlier than I wanted to before it warmed up more. So I was like, let's go get some ice cream and let it get a little bit warmer outside. Sounds about right.
Yeah, that does sound about right. I think that might sound kind of familiar. Let's go get ice cream and kill some time and let the sun come up.
And then we ended up getting ice cream and then going out to the lake. Do you remember that lake? It's the one where we had to paddle out through the
marshy type area?
Yeah, like river marsh, where we would pass people on the sandbar before we got out to the big lake. And I think one of the times we went out on that lake, we stood on a sandbar for a while and just hung out.
It's possible.
Like way out on the lake.
Yeah.
And then my last one that I really loved, and we only went out on it, I think it was called Deer Reservoir. That was the one where we heard the... Did we ever actually see it? We did see the bird. What we think now is a juvenile bald eagle.
Okay.
You remember that? On the island in the center.
I remember seeing something, and we were curious as to what type of bird it was.
And I talked to the lake host, I think they call him, and she was saying that there was a juvenile bald eagle that was always in that area. But I really liked that lake too. It was really cool.
That would make sense. But I think that was all the lakes. It would have been nice if we were doing this then and could have better reflected on the lakes, because we spent a lot of time on a lot of different lakes.
I was going to say, it definitely wasn't all the lakes. We probably went out on somewhere between 15 and 20, maybe. different lakes.
I wish we had kept a record. I would say a better record, but we didn't keep any records, so I can't say better because we did nothing. So I wish we would have done something at least.
Excuse me, I have pictures from every single lake.
You do have pictures from every single lake. That is true. I wish I would have done better. I wish I was better. Are we ready to
Anyways,
leave?
We can leave New Hampshire now if you want to.
We can leave. So, we leave New Hampshire October 23rd, headed back to Tennessee for a wedding, and we stopped in Shenandoah National Park
because I don't do well just beelining from one place to another. I've got to stop and see the sights on the way.
And we weren't in a rush. We didn't have to be anywhere at any time. The only thing I really wanted to do is get out of New Hampshire before a winter storm hit. I don't want to be in that with the truck and trailer. The Subaru would do just fine. The van has all-wheel drive. I'm sure it would do just fine, even with the not winter tires that it has on it right now. The truck has all-wheel drive, but I don't necessarily want the truck and trailer in the snow. So we got out of there before the weather got too bad. Went to Shenandoah National Park. Enjoyed Shenandoah. It's definitely a... So there are some national parks, if you're at all familiar with national parks, there are some national parks that are obviously meant for just driving through and stopping at viewpoints and enjoying it from essentially the driver's seat. And there are other national parks where you need to go to the trailhead, put on your boots, and get out there. And I think Shenandoah leans more heavily towards the enjoy it from your driver's seat. Whitney is making faces and shaking her head. I think she disagrees with me, but I'm not sure she disagrees with me as much as she might think she does.
No, I think it's kind of a combination. Like, there are some really good hikes there, but it's also really good for people. Like, it's good for either or. People that want to just drive and view, or people that want to get out and hike. That being said, I will say that I feel like a lot of the hikes look pretty similar. There's not a lot of variety in the terrain.
That's why I would say it's not really a hiker's type national park, because I don't feel like there are other parks I feel like you can go on 6 different hikes and have 6 different experiences, as opposed to Shenandoah. There's nothing wrong with this, but Shenandoah, you can't see the forest for the trees. You get out there and you're in the woods and you may get to a viewpoint. And if it's lush, there may not be a viewpoint. And if you do get to a viewpoint, you're essentially looking at a valley. And if you do another hike in that relative area, then you're probably looking at the same valley from a different orientation. So there's not a lot of variety. Don't go to Shenandoah thinking that you're going to go on all these amazing hikes. It's nice to go on hikes. I didn't mind any of the hikes that we went on.
The other good thing about it is it's super dog friendly.
Shenandoah is dog friendly.
So
again, if you have a dog and you go to national parks, you know there are some national parks that your dog is not allowed anywhere.
Which Shenandoah dogs are allowed on almost all of the trails. There's a few that they're not allowed on, but you can easily look that up on the National Park Service website. But we were able to take Sandy on every hike that we wanted to go on. And while we're talking about this real quick, I will also mention, since we already talked about Mammoth Cave National Park in Kentucky, Mammoth Cave is also very dog friendly. Dogs are allowed on all of the surface trails in the national park. They're just obviously not allowed in the cave tours. So that's a good little information for people that like going to national parks and have dogs that travel with them.
And I didn't write it down. I don't know if I'll be able to get it up in a reasonable amount of time. We stayed at a Jellystone, didn't we?
Yeah, Luray Jellystone. I don't know if that's the official name of it, but it was the Jellystone Park in Luray, and we were there for Halloween.
We were there for Halloween. And if you've ever been to a Jellystone National Park or a Jellystone RV park, they are very, very family friendly, very family oriented, huge playground. This one had a water park. They had, like Whitney just said, it was Halloween, so they were doing trick-or-treating. They were doing decorations. You could vote for your favorite decorated trailer. Very, very, very family-friendly resort. I would say this was a resort. You could rent golf carts. They had an arcade. The park itself was nice. We went on a couple of runs in the park, and it is kind of monotonous to run in the park because you're kind of just running up and down each of the individual rows that the RV spaces are in and running up on the hills in the back of the park. And there's not a lot of change of scenery, but it's a big park.
So you can get some movement in
You
in a
can
very reasonable manner.
you can just run all the different rows, and it's slightly hilly. So it was nice because you would have a downhill section and you could recover, and then you could turn around and go up the next row, and you could have a nice little uphill section. So if you're one of those people that likes to have a little morning run, or even if you just like a walk, there was some elevation change. It was a little difficult to get through, but it was a good park for walking around. If you are a fan of campfires, you will not be alone because everyone had to have a campfire at all times. Whitney and I are not campfire people, but we understand that there are people that camp all sorts of different ways, and some people, it ain't camping if you're not burning something. So bear that in mind also. If you're one of those people that doesn't like having a smoking neighbor, you're probably going to have a smoking neighbor in these family-friendly parks where people are really just out there enjoying the weekend or the holiday. But I would probably go back. I had nothing against it. It was a busy weekend. It was Halloween. It was expensive, and it wasn't a great site for what we paid. We had a very unlevel site.
I was heated when we were setting up there.
It irked Whitney a lot for how much we paid for the site, how many sites were open whenever we got there, and it's just one of those things. If you've ever set up a trailer with your spouse, if it's not perfect, somebody's upset, and Whitney was on the edge of being upset.
Whitney was the upset one.
Whitney was upset.
I was not on the verge. I was there.
So
I was upset enough that I took pictures and sent them to my mother.
So we did Shenandoah National Park, and eventually...
But wait, do you remember what else we did? It's worth mentioning real quick.
We did the cave.
The cave. We went to Luray Caverns, and we've done maybe 4 or 5 different cave tours, and I think this was one of our favorites.
It was huge.
It was huge, and it had some really cool features. Our favorite thing was the underground lake.
The underground lake was fantastic.
Awesome.
It was, you say lake, it wasn't Lake Michigan. It was a pond at best.
Underground, I think it can be qualified as a lake.
I don't know what underground quantifies as far as the lake goes. It was very still. It was mirror-like. I know you've probably been driving past a certain lake in a certain area and seen the water in the morning with a light fog and thought, man, that's beautiful. It's got the perfect reflection of the trees. I can see everything reflecting off the lake. That was mountain terrain compared to how smooth this underground lake was in the caves. It was
super cool.
It was really cool. It was very photogenic. Could not get over how pretty it was. I also couldn't get over the fact that they accept donations in the form of change in one of the ponds or lakes that they have. And people would throw dollar bills, people would throw gift cards, there were coins, there were 3 or 4 employees that were being paid to fish the money out of this little pond, essentially.
I talked to one of them, and what I could remember wrong, but I think she said that they get the dollar bills out every day, but they wait and get the coins out once at the end of the year, and then what they do with all the money is collect it and donate it to a charity.
They might have a rotating charity that they change every year. I forget how they did it, but they had hundreds of thousands of dollars in donations that they had collected since the cave had been open.
And they had a sign in there, and I don't remember if it was how much money it had collected each, like up to that date during the year, or if it was cumulative over all the years. I don't remember, but it was cool to see.
So that was Shenandoah National Park and Luray, which it's a cute little area. If you listen to this and you say, oh, hey, we're going to go there, I think that might be an area I want to go to, you can reach out. We can tell you more specifically about what we did there. If, again, we were doing this when we had done that, there would be more details. But to keep this from being a 5-hour episode, we have to keep it kind of sparse. So,
We left there and made it to Tennessee.
We left there, made it to Manchester, Tennessee. Now, if you've never been fortunate enough to be to Manchester, Tennessee, I've got something for you. So Manchester, Tennessee, to the best of my knowledge, which I'm not fully versed in this, has to be the home to the number one amount per capita of Mexican-style restaurants and food trucks in the country. I don't know. We've been a lot of places. There's always a lot of Mexican food everywhere you go. Americans love Mexican food. Every city has a Mexican restaurant. But we went into Manchester, and the first thing we noticed was Mexican food trucks. And there are food trucks and there are restaurants. And there are, off the top of my head, 5 sit-down restaurants that I can think of that were Mexican themed. A couple of these are repetitious. They are the same places, but they have multiple locations throughout the city. And then
at least, like 5 food trucks?
5 food trucks, but now I'm thinking about it, and if you include the grocery store, the Mexican grocery store, you can go in there and technically sit down. So is that a restaurant? That would be, I don't know, half a dozen in one small town. Manchester, Tennessee, I'm sure 99.9% of the 3 people that are going to listen to this podcast have never heard of Manchester, Tennessee. But we decided while we were there, and I don't remember if it was before or after the wedding. It was after the wedding, because it was when we were getting ready to leave. We decided we were going to go through and do a taco day and go and try all the places that we could for taco day and see just what we thought of it. And I'm looking right now. I don't remember if I even made... I don't think I made a note about Taco Day, and if I did, unfortunately, I'm not Yep, I do. Now I see it. Of course, Taco Bell's at the top of the list. We had to start at Taco Bell.
You can't beat Taco Bell.
Do you want to go through them all, or do you just want to go through our top, 3 favorites?
Just a couple favorites.
Just a couple of favorites. So
Taco Bell, number 1.
Taco Bell, number 1. Honorable mention, Taco Bell. We got a Doritos, Locos, Tacos, Cheesy Gordita Crunch. Always delicious. Hot sauce for sure. So Whitney and I agreed on number 1 for our favorite place was Mi Patronca. The meal actually included chips and salsa. And I should say this, every place we went, we got birria queso tacos, which birria queso tacos are essentially taco-sized quesadillas with birria, which is just traditionally it's stewed lamb, if I remember correctly, but Americanized birria is normally a cut of beef, I believe. I don't think it's pork. I think it's just stewed beef, and then they serve it with a consommé, which is just the stewing liquid that the beef is braised in. You take the birria, smother it in cheese, wrap it up, fold it in a flour tortilla, fry it. Some places dip it in the consommé and then fry it like that. Birria queso tacos are not a new thing. If you've heard of birria, which I'm sure you've had, all of these places had it. So we went to all of these. We wanted something we could compare between them all. We decided to go with birria queso tacos. Mi Patronca, which, I don't have my map pulled up. It was not actually in Manchester.
Yeah, it was like 10,
it was
maybe
10 or
15 minutes
15
down the road.
minutes. It was to the southeast. So if you're ever in Manchester, it's 100% worth going. We loved it. It was fantastic. Number 2, we both agreed on Los Tacos Bro.
Which one was that?
Los Tacos Bro was the last one that we went to. It was the cheesiest one that we had for the entire day.
Was that the black truck that we pulled up right in front of the window?
Yes.
Okay.
And that was one of my favorites, mostly because you could order it per taco. At this point, I'm not looking at my post. I'd eaten like 15 tacos at this point, because everywhere you go to get queso tacos or quesabirria, you get 3. Whitney would eat 1, I would eat 2. And
I know my limits.
Whitney knows her limits, and I'm a glutton, and I will stuff my face. And I don't remember exactly how many places we went, but we went to a lot. I did the math. I ate a dozen tacos. Case of tacos, a dozen of those. That's no small feat.
Minimum dozen.
Minimum. Yeah.
There might have been
So
more.
Los Tacos Bro was very good. Definitely, definitely, definitely the cheesiest. If you want just cheese on your quesadilla, then definitely go to Los Tacos Bro, and that's in Manchester. Um, and then the last one that I'll say was number 3 for me, and I say it tied with Whitney. I don't know what it tied with Whitney for. Oh, with Mercado's Patty. El Oro Verde. El Oro Verde was the one that was across the street from the walk-in clinic that you had to go to,
Which was kind of up on the hill, right?
which was kind of up on the hill, again, in Manchester. It was very good. They were friendly. It was raining that day, of course, and the girl was kind enough to walk out of the food truck and bring it over to the van while we were sitting there waiting. We really enjoyed that one. Puffy and crispy. Really liked it. That was the one we got that was almost like a fried shell. It was like light and fluffy and crispy. Really liked that one. We thought that one was fantastic. So Manchester, it's fun to go over there and just eat your weight in Mexican food. There's no shortage. There are other places. Again, if you're listening to this and you want to know everything that we thought of it, you can either ask us and we can tell you what we thought of it, or we can direct you to our social media posts where we actually talk about this. Me more so than Whitney with some of these things. It kind of depends on what the holiday is, but I made a whole big post about Taco Day on my Facebook. But we did our wedding, we finished Taco Day, and ended up leaving, headed for our next contract in Crescent City, California on November 20th.
We came back to Crescent City because we spent 7 months here in 2023 and loved it and decided we needed to come back.
But on the way we made a couple of stops. We stopped at Hot Springs National Park in Arkansas.
Is Hot Springs where I finally told you that we're working on going to all of the national parks?
Possibly. I kind of had...
Apparently, Jake didn't realize that we were trying to go to all of the national parks.
Is inkling a right word? I had an inkling that we were trying to go to all the national parks, being that every time we were within 500 miles of a national park, Whitney would somehow finagle our schedule so that we could make it to said national park.
So we went to Hot Springs. We only went for a day. We did have Sandy with us, so we considered doing one of the
Spas.
spas,
Bathhouses.
Bathhouses. That's what they are. But ultimately decided not to and just spend the day exploring the town. We did a hike in the national park. We went to a brewery.
We did go to a brewery.
And that's when I learned that the brewery, do you remember the name of it?
Bathhouse Brewery.
Bathhouse Brewery, maybe, is the only brewery within a national park. And it's also dog friendly, which is great.
Only brewery within a national park. It's not the only national park with an easily accessible brewery. Zion is a national park with a very easily accessible brewery. If you're on the right side of Zion.
On the west side.
If you're on the west side of Zion, but that can be a topic for another day. But Bathhouse is the only brewery housed in the national park system. So we thought that was cool. The beer wasn't earth-shattering. I don't feel like it was a place where I would necessarily have to go back to, but it was nice to be able to walk around. We had the entire day to kill. We went and got one beer. It was a nice place to sit. They were very, very, very dog-friendly.
Sandy got a bandana.
I think would they even had let her sit inside?
Yeah,
is what they said.
The whole town was super dog friendly.
The entire town was very, very, very dog friendly. All the shops were very welcoming of dogs. They all had TREATs. I have to spell it because the dog is sleeping right now, and if I say the word, then she'll freak out.
She will wake up for that word.
She will. The brewery served food. I don't know, again, people that are going to listen to this, I don't know how often you frequent a brewery or a dining establishment with your dog, but more often than not, if they have food, they are not allowed to have dogs. This is most of the time a health code thing. But in Hot Springs, they didn't seem to care. They were perfectly fine with her being inside, but we sat outside anyway because it was a nice day. We got Kilwins when we were there, so we didn't get any really great ice cream. There's nothing wrong with Kilwins, but we didn't get any good homemade ice cream while we were there. We did hit a couple of donut shops. I can't remember their names off the top of my head. They were good. We got like an old fashioned that was really good that we really liked. But it was just decent day trip. Make it over there. We got some fried pies that are going to come up in a little while.
And some delicious Mexican food.
Mexican food.
Where we sat at the bar top on the patio
we
outside.
We did the Mexican food. I can't remember the name of it.
I don't know, but the nachos were top notch.
Well, now I need to look to see what the name of the Mexican food place was, because the Mexican food is not going to come up again in our topic that's coming up very shortly. But I want to make sure that I call out this Mexican restaurant because I don't think it has the best reviews. I think it suffers a little bit from being exposed to too many tourists that have too high of expectations.
Well, a lot of their bad reviews, I think, were service related, and we didn't have great service.
We didn't have the best service, but again, I didn't think it was that bad. You only had to go hunt somebody down to get our check, and that only took 5 minutes, and we weren't in a hurry. Again, I don't know. If you're in a big hurry, maybe bring your own food and prepare your lunch so that you can eat at your own speed. Diablo's, tacos, and mezcal. We really enjoyed. Whitney got the nachos. The nachos were enough for 3 people, but she got them just for herself. And then I jumped in when I finished my 3 little street tacos that I got. And then we also had, did we get queso?
Yes.
We got queso, and the queso was really good.
We got margs that were hella expensive.
Margs were expensive and not worth it. I wouldn't get margs again if we went. If I had to have something to drink, I would just get some Modelo. Give me a 12-ounce Modelo for $5 or $6, whatever it is. I don't care. I wouldn't have to get the margs again. You might be a marg girl, and it might be right up your alley. I could be wrong. The food was fantastic. The service wasn't great, especially for how dead they were. I think we were one of like 4 people that were eating there. But again, we weren't in a hurry. We were hanging out. It doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. So, moving on from that, finished up in Hot Springs National Park and going through Oklahoma. Whitney and I are fans of smash burgers, so if you at all know the history of smash burgers, then you know the Oklahoma-style onion burger is a thing. And if you've never heard of that, then an Oklahoma-style onion burger is just a smash burger with a handful of onions smashed into the patties and grilled up real nice, real tender, real delicious with some cheese. These don't tend to have the special sauces that a lot of the new modern smash burgers have. We enjoyed it pretty well. I think it worked out just fine for us. We tried, am I going to get this right? We did 3 burgers.
We were not technically in OKC. We stayed on the west side in El Reno, Oklahoma.
El Reno, Oklahoma. And El Reno is the place to be for Oklahoma-style smash burgers because that's where Sid's Diner is. If you are a frequent viewer of the Food Network, you might have seen Sid's highlighted on one of their segments. They are one of the longest standing, I don't want to say original because I don't know the true history of it, but Sid's Diner is the place to go if you want an Oklahoma-style onion burger. Sid's is really nice because it's new. The outdoor seating area they have is enclosed and heated and cooled and dog friendly. So if you have your dog with you, you can sit in their outdoor area that's fully enclosed and climate controlled and enjoy your burgers. And if you're like us, then you're going to take advantage of that. And Whitney and the dog are going to stay at Sid's in their climate controlled patio area and Jake is going to go over to Johnny's Hamburgers to get a burger.
We went with you for that one because that was the second one.
You did.
Because we found the bakery.
Because you made us run to Allie's Baking Boutique before she closed. Allie's Baking Boutique is a fantastic little bakery in El Reno, worth the stop alone. If you don't even like burgers, hopefully you like dessert. We like dessert, so Whitney saw this place and saw that it had a rating of 5 stars from over 100 reviews. If you use Google Maps and look at Google reviews, then you will understand how difficult it is for a business to maintain a 5-star rating with any more than like 8 reviews, because you're always going to have somebody that you upset, somebody that was having a bad day, somebody's going to leave you a bad review. Anything over a couple of dozen reviews with like 4.8 stars, you're pretty safe to assume that it's going to be good. Whatever it is that they're selling, it's a good product. Again, you can get burned by this sometimes. We don't get burned by it often. Once in a while, 1 out of every like 20 places, maybe, if it's a high review, ends up being a little disappointing. Allie's was amazing. We got brownies, which were fantastic. We got a day-old honey butter croissant that was tasty. I would have paid full price for it. We got it for a discount because it was day old. You never would have known it was day old.
I'd have gotten half a dozen of those things and just crushed them.
I mean, those, we're probably going to give away how basic we are. Those were as good as the all butter croissants from Walmart, which are our go-to croissants for breakfast Sammies whenever we make breakfast Sammies at home.
Now I want a breakfast Sammy on that croissant.
And then we also got was it a pumpkin cookie that was two pumpkin spiced cookies with a cream filling in between?
Yeah, I think so.
Something like that.
Sandwich.
It was all fantastic. So even if you're not in this for the burgers, go to Allie's, give her some business, keep her there. I want her to still be there the next time we cross the country so that I can go back and get at least some more brownies. As far as the burgers go, I think Whitney and I agree that Sid's was the best.
Well, we got Johnny's, and then we just happened to walk past. What was the third place?
Robert's Grill.
We just happened to walk past and see that it was another one. And we were sharing burgers. We weren't getting our own burger at each place. So just be aware of that.
We were sharing double burgers at all these places.
So we decided to do a trifecta and get all 3. And Robert's was definitely both of our least favorites.
Robert's was our least favorite. Johnny's was in second, but I thought Johnny's was very good.
I do think that we both agreed that Sid's was the best.
Sid's had the most onions, and then it's also hard to go against the spot that had the outdoor enclosed climate controlled seating that was dog friendly. If you're a business and you want Whitney and I to give you money, just provide a nice environment outside where we can have our dog protected from the elements. And we will happily come there, because there are many a days where the weather is unfriendly and we just want something to go do. And there are so many places that aren't dog friendly unless you sit outside, and then they provide no protection whatsoever from the elements. So that's my soapbox on that. We finished in El Reno and continued west and ended up in good old Albuquerque, New Mexico, which we didn't go on a crazy adventure. We had one day where we kind of went out and explored. We went to the park. We ran on the Greenway. We did that. We went to a few bakeries.
We went to a winery.
We did go to, I don't even remember the winery.
It was in, what was the area called? Old Town?
I do remember the winery, actually. The winery was very good, now that you say that. That was... Oh...
I think that area was called Old Town, Albuquerque. I could be wrong, but we went to a little winery there. Did we go to a brewery?
We did. The winery was Sheehan Winery and Tasting Room in Old Town. Sheehan was delicious. We liked Sheehan. We got
a bottle there.
We got a bottle there to go. We enjoyed Sheehan a lot. We went to the Flying Roadrunner Bakery, which was right there. We weren't that impressed with the Flying Roadrunner. Actually, when I say not that impressed, we were kind of let down by that one. That's another one, 4.8 stars, and we just weren't that happy with it. They can't all be winners. Not everything can be exactly what we want. If you're in Old Town, I'm going to say go to House of Salem, Salem's Tea House. The owner there, if you go in and there's a young lady who's just enthusiastic and exuberant and excited that you're there, she was fantastic. She will let you taste every honey that she has available. And we're not tea people, but she had all sorts of teas. If you like tea, go there for tea. I really just say go for the honey. I think she tries to source as much of her honey as locally as possible. Get the buckwheat honey.
Buckwheat honey.
Buckwheat honey is life-changing. It's fantastic. It tastes like no honey you've ever had before. It was really good. The brewery that we ended up going to, we went up to Tin Can Alley, Albuquerque. Tin Can Alley ABQ in North Domingo Baca, BACA, whatever that means, on the north side of town. And that's where, I'm not going to be able to remember the name of the brewery that's up there. Santa Fe Brewing. Whitney went to the little chicken nugget spot that was in there and got us some chicken tendies. They were okay, but not really worth the money. It's just a couple of containers put together with a nice indoor area. Feels very industrial. I wouldn't have to go back.
No, I don't think I would either.
Not necessarily. The highlight of Albuquerque, which will come up in our segment that we're about to get to, the Burke Bakehouse was very good. We liked the Burke Bakehouse. We'll get to the more specifics of that soon. But we finished in Albuquerque and ended up getting to Crescent City on November 29th. Since we've been here, we've made a couple of trips. These will be future episodes. We ran the 101, Highway 101, runs north and south along the coast of California, and we left Crescent City and went and explored a couple of cities. We hit 3 or 4 cities. We went as far north as Astoria and then headed back home, and we did a trip for Christmas to the Medford and Ashland area. Spent a few days.
Which are also in Oregon.
So Astoria, Oregon, Medford, Ashland, Oregon. These are all trips that we've made outside. No one's familiar with Crescent City. Crescent City is as far north in California on the coast as you can get until you get to the next city, which is Brookings, and that's Oregon. So when we say we're in NorCal, Northern California, we're talking about real Northern California. Not if you look on a map and see San Francisco and it's the middle of the state and people call that Northern California. We are in Northern California. Look at a map, put your finger on the northern part of California on the coast, and that's where we are.
We're 20 minutes to the Welcome to Oregon sign.
20 minutes away from there. We do everything in Brookings, Oregon. That's where all of our favorite things are. So that is our year. That gets you to where we are, and we have a few other episodes that are made up of these other trips that we just did, including a trip that we just made to Lincoln City in order to play Finders Keepers, but that will be covered later. But the end of this episode consists of our best of for 2024. This is something that we're going to try to do every year, where we are going to collect our favorites and bring them to our audience at the end collectively and discuss our favorites and try to see how much we disagree about what it is that we thought was the best of a given category. And for today, do you want to start with the biggest category, or do you want to work from smallest to biggest in order to get this figured out?
I want to go down the list you have written out because that's what I can look at.
The list that I have written out?
Yeah.
Okay, you want to do it that way?
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, we can do it that way.
What way do you want to do it?
I have it on my phone where I have all these written out.
Yeah, but you can just flip through your phone.
I can.
And get to the right list.
I can.
Because I don't have anything written out.
Well, they're not all on here.
I'm winging it.
You wing it. So what do you want to start with? Best trip of 2024?
Yes. So what we decided, I don't know if we really specifically said this when we were talking about the van. What we started doing when we started traveling this year is we keep the travel trailer parked in one spot at the location of my assignment, and now we use the van to just make little side trips if I have 4 to 8 days off.
Yeah, depending on it. We can do a trip in 3 days if we have to, if there's someplace we really want to go and it's close and we don't feel like we're cramming anything in there. But yeah, 4 days minimum. Sometimes you get 6 days. And I mean, that's a big trip if we do something in 6 days.
Yeah, so we made quite a few trips while we were in Laconia to other areas. And obviously, once we got to California, Jake just said we made some other trips. So, our favorite little trip that we made in 2024,
We agree on
I think we both agree on, we went back to one of our favorite places that we've ever been, which is
Acadia National Park in Maine.
I worked a contract in Maine right outside of Bar Harbor in 2020, and we got to spend the entire summer exploring Acadia National Park. And at the time, all we really did was hike and eat and explore. So I really wanted to go back this past summer.
And it was during COVID, so we had the park to ourselves because they had record low numbers of attendance for the park.
Yeah.
So we got in there was no one there. We would go to parking lots in the middle of the day, and there was a ranger at one day, and she said, "I've never seen it like this. It's impossible to find a parking spot here normally this time of year." And there were empty parking spots. It might have been at the top of Cadillac Mountain.
I don't remember because I don't think we ever drove up Cadillac Mountain. I think we only hiked up.
Okay. I know we were in one spot and we saw a ranger and she said, this is strange. I've never seen this few vehicles here before.
But anyways, when we were there in 2020, all we did was hike. I think my goal was for us to hike all the peaks, and I think we got all but maybe 5 or 6 that were in the park.
You had a list, and I remember the list being very near complete by the time we were done. Unfortunately, we were slowed slightly by the fact that Sandy had an injury and she had to have knee surgery to be fixed.
So that definitely put a damper on our hiking.
Well, we had like a solid 6 to 8 weeks where we just weren't doing anything. We couldn't go anywhere. We wanted to make sure she had the care that she needed and the attention that she deserved for her boo-boo. So we took some time off doing us things and concentrated on getting the dog back into fighting form.
But anyways, all we did was hike then, and this past summer, since we had the paddleboard, I knew that there were a few really nice lakes in Acadia National Park. So I wanted to take the paddleboard up there and paddleboard, which we did. We went on, I'm going off memory. We might have gone, and I could definitely be wrong on this, on Long Pond and Eagle Lake, maybe.
Long Pond sounds right. Long Pond sounds familiar. That's not really one of those things that you forget easily. But again, here we are we're recording in our 30-foot travel trailer in Crescent City, and we have cell phone service that's about as dependable as
dial-up
internet. So
we can't get maps to load easily and quickly look at what we're talking about. So we're doing the best that we can.
And we're children, so we can't necessarily prepare beforehand because we're doing this live. Was Echo Lake one of them?
Maybe it was Echo. Maybe it was Long Pond and Echo Lake.
Echo Lake, right. And we walked Jordan Pond. We didn't paddle. And Long Pond was the other one. So Echo Lake and Long Pond.
So we paddleboarded both of those, and it was really enjoyable. It's so pretty there. So we found some delicious donuts, which we'll talk about again. But we spent I think we only spent 2 or 3 days in Acadia this time, but it was probably both of our favorite little trip that we made.
I think it might have been our favorite trip because we were going back to a place that we already had some familiarity with. We knew the area.
We love the area.
I mean, we went up there and we fell in love, and we thought that's where we were going to end up. We were like, we're going to be in the Northeast. We love this. And yeah, we still have no idea where we're going to end up, but I thought that was great. The next category So I have two things written down right there, and I don't know if you want to go off of best national park.
Let's do best national park because it's similar to like same kind of theme as best trip. And we only hit 4 last year, I think. It was Mammoth Cave, back to Acadia, Shenandoah, and Hot Springs. So Mammoth Cave, Shenandoah, and Hot Springs were our 3 new parks.
I feel like it's unfair to include Acadia in that because we've been to Acadia, and if you only included the things that we did, I guess it might level things out a little bit more, but it's hard to think about Acadia and not know all the hiking that we've done there and know how amazing that park is and then fairly compare that. So, I don't know. If I'm holding all things equal, Acadia is the best national park that we went to last year, but if I'm
only looking at the new ones,
then I would probably say that Shenandoah was my favorite park that we went to. Shenandoah was fun. We went into the park and did our own self-guided dark sky.
Yeah, we did do that.
One night where we went to one of the overlooks and just enjoyed the blanket of stars. Definitely not dark sky certified like you're going to get in Big Bend or
Great Basin, some of the parks out west that are in the middle of nowhere.
You're not going to go to Shenandoah and be able to get a really clear, obvious view of the Milky Way, but it was still nice to go out there and sit for a little while and enjoy the stars. There was a few things. The hikes that we went on weren't that bad. I think we enjoyed the hikes pretty well. The views weren't spectacular, but it's hard to, again, look back at Shenandoah and be impressed when we've just been to some of the parks that we've been to and had some of the views that we've had.
You also didn't climb to the highest, best viewpoint.
I also did not risk my life and
neither did I
crawl on the ridge line in order to get to the best viewpoint in Shenandoah as Whitney did. Would you say Shenandoah was your favorite park of the year?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So, next category, we can move on to the fun category.
Best burger.
The best burger of 2024. There are only 3 in this category, and one of them's kind of an eye roll because Whitney and I like our consistent favorites that we can get whenever we know we go to an area and we know what we're getting into. So we'll start with Shake Shack. Shake Shack is the tried and true dependable workhorse of our burger diet.
Bear in mind, smash burgers are our burger style of choice.
Yeah, we're not doing diner burgers. We're not doing big, like half-pound, thick, juicy burgers. I feel like smash burgers, if you get a dry smash burger, something went wrong. I feel like we've had smash burgers before, and I've literally had grease rolling down my arm. So if you think thin and crispy means dry, you just haven't had the right ones. So smash burgers are our favorite, and Shake Shack heads out the list just because there are so many locations, and when we can get to one, we get to one, and we enjoy it every time. It's essentially fast food, so take it for what you will. Their fries aren't great. We never get milkshakes. We just go for the burgers. So as far as the burgers go, we love it. Vendretti's, Oxbow's food truck. Vendretti's is the next contestant for best burger. It was absolutely fantastic. I can't remember what the price was. It's not cheap. I know nothing's cheap anymore. Vendretti's was definitely nothing to write home about as far as price goes. You're not going to be like, oh, that was a steal. I would go and buy another one of those immediately. You're definitely going to think twice about buying a second burger from Vendretti's. It's no more expensive than any of the other places that I can recall. But again, I don't remember the price off the top of my head. But it was a delicious burger. I would go back to Portland and back to Oxbow specifically in order to get Vendretti's smash burger again. It was very, very, very good. And then you have Duck Fat, which is also next door to Oxbow. So you can get Oxbow beer with a Vendretti's burger and duck fat French fries and be pleased.
And duck fat donut holes with caramel dipping sauce.
And duck fat.
That was part of donut day.
So be prepared for the duck fat donut holes. They have orange in them, orange zest. So they're kind of orangey.
But nothing overbearing.
It's nothing overbearing. It's nothing overpowering, but just be prepared if you go to duck fat and get the donut holes. They do have a little bit of an orange character. And coming in last, but definitely not least.
Oh, I think this is my favorite.
Dreamburger.
My favorite.
Dreamburger in Nashville, Tennessee is housed at Vinyl Tap, which is a vinyl
shop and tap room.
Vinyl shop and tap room in Nashville. Dreamburger is a food truck that sits, I guess, in their parking lot. Dreamburger is fantastic. It's easily accessible to us whenever we're in that area of Tennessee. We go whenever we get a chance. We brave Nashville in order to get Dreamburger.
And that's saying a lot.
I don't know. We've been in the van, we've been in the car. It's not that bad. It's Nashville. If you're afraid of Nashville, well, I don't know. Maybe traveling's not for you. Dreamburger. This one's tough because we got Dreamburger so much, recency bias. I would probably agree with you and say Dreamburger is my favorite burger of the year. Just because it's consistent, it's delicious. They will put as many patties as you ask for on a burger. They will not say no. I dare you to find their limit. And if you do that, I want you to tag me. And, oh man, I might even join you with getting however many patties you get on your burger.
But just know that 3 is the ideal ratio of bun to meat.
3 is a good ratio. Three patties, 3 pieces of cheese. Maybe ask for extra onions. It's very good. Very good burger. We enjoy it very much. And then Vinyl Tap has an excellent selection of beer. If not slightly expensive, if you're a craft beer drinker, you're probably used to things being more and more expensive, but they bring good stuff in, but good stuff calls for higher prices. Beer's not cheap. Nothing's cheap. Moving on. Best donut of 2024. And this is our second largest category, I believe. It might be tied for second largest category. Best donuts. We're starting off strong with a Tennessee native, Five Daughters Donuts, home of the 100-layer cronut, which you can have filled or unfilled. And our favorite is the salty chocolate.
Which is filled.
Which is filled.
And filled is the way to go.
Filled is the only way to go when you go to Five Daughters. Again, expensive. I think $5 is like $5 per donut, but these are cronuts. These are layered donuts that require a ton of work. They're time consuming. They're not easy to do. If you are a donut head like we are, it's delicious. We love Five Daughters. We get it every time we're nearby a Five Daughters. Next is Kim's.
Kim's, we just found. Did we? I might have seen it on the map when we were headed to Laconia, or I saw it on the map when we were driving from my brother's house in Connecticut back to Laconia from a trip that we made. But it's in Lowell, I'm not sure how you say it, Massachusetts.
It was a random find. It was one of those, had a high rating.
Super highly rated, just like a little quintessential run-of-the-mill donut shop, but it was just one of the best apple fritters we've had and some delicious, delicious donuts.
This is not a $5 donut type of place. This is your just old school, good donuts done right. Kim's was fantastic. Kim's, on most other lists, Kim's would blow everything out of the water. But our list, we've had a lot of good donuts this year. Next on the list might be, I'm going to go ahead and give it away, might be my favorite. Colonel's Restaurant and Bakery in Northeast Harbor on Mount Desert Island in Maine, where Acadia National Park is. Colonel's Restaurant and Bakery is a very unassuming storefront housed in Northeast Harbor. You could walk right past it. It's a cute little downtown area. It's just little storefronts. It's not big at all. It might be a quarter mile. We walked down it with the dog and didn't think much of it. How did we even discover this place? You found the reviews and people said it was earth-shattering.
We had just done a little hike and we were trying to figure out what we were going to do next. So I was just scouring Google Maps and saw, I think I searched donuts because I was, as usual, in a donut mood. And this place popped up and I started reading reviews that mentioned donuts. And I think multiple reviews said that these donuts were life-changing. So I was like, we need to go check this out.
Life-changing blueberry cake donuts. These are cake donuts, people. These are not yeast-raised donuts. These are not fritters. These are not crullers. These are cake donuts, and the chocolate cake donuts here are life-changing. If you like chocolate, if you like cake donuts, if you like sweet things, if you like food, then you will like the chocolate cake donuts at Colonel's Restaurant and Bakery. I mean, it's the third one on the list, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it's probably my favorite.
They were really delicious.
Next is North Country Donuts in Morrisville, Vermont.
Another random find. We went over to that area. I don't remember exactly when it was, but we went over there because my parents had come up to visit, and after they visited us, they went over to Vermont to do some stuff there. And so we went over there when I had a few days off and stayed in this little town and found this donut shop again, super highly rated on Google Maps. So I started looking at their menu, and it's one of those places that changes their menu weekly. They have some things every week, but some things change every week based on their ingredients that they can get locally. And we went there, and their donuts were really good, but the standout was definitely their apple fritter.
The apple fritter, we went in, we pre-ordered, didn't we?
Yes.
We pre-ordered, we went in, we got our box, we walked outside, and in true Jake and Whitney fashion, we stood outside the van on the sidewalk and started consuming donuts. And I think the first one we went with was the apple fritter, because she was about to close shop. She still had apple fritters, and we wanted to know whether or not we needed to go back in to buy more donuts. So we ate the apple fritter and immediately said, yes, go back inside and buy another apple fritter. So I went inside and bought another apple fritter, and I believe I also purchased a chocolate covered and maybe one other thing, but
they were delicious.
They were delicious. Very good.
Probably the best apple fritter of the year.
I don't know. We got another one on the list that could be a contender for best apple fritter, but that's not a category. So after North Country, we have Project Donut in Manchester, Tennessee.
Oh, yeah. Super.
Home of the Mexican restaurants. Manchester, Tennessee also has a sleeper of a donut shop.
Really solid, which we were not expecting.
Everything. We never got anything from there that wasn't just stellar, standout, absolutely delicious. Another one, they're not going to break the bank. Just good donuts. Their cinnamon twists.
Their cinnamon twists were delicious. Excellent for taking on a hike.
Excellent for a hike. Went very well with dark Czech lager. Really, really, really enjoyed Project Donut. As far as, I can't even say as far as small town donut places go, because North Country, Colonel's, Kim's, these are all small town places. But Project Donut was very good. Next is Honeybee in Brookings, Oregon, a place that we're quite familiar with as we enjoyed it last year. And we haven't been able to enjoy it this year yet because they've been closed.
Did we not get it once?
No, we did get it once. You're right. We got it once before they closed for the holidays. We got a cinnamon roll.
We got the eggnog thing.
The eggnog. Yeah, she gave us a free eggnog donut. I forgot about that. So Honeybee Bakery is in Brookings, Oregon. Very good.
Really good, but I don't think it would be one of my top. It's one of our top for the year, but like top 3. I wouldn't say it would be top 3.
No? All right. What about Big Dog Donuts and Deli in Florence, Oregon?
Oh, that's the apple fritter.
That's the other apple fritter that kind of throws a wrench in you saying that North Country has the best apple fritter.
Really good. We've only been there once.
Only been there once.
Granted, we only went to North Country once.
We only went to Colonel's once. We only went to Kim's once.
But we would have gone back to Big Dog on our last trip up the coast, but they were closed by the time we got there.
So we didn't get to go.
That'll have to be saved for next time.
So we have Big Dog Donuts, and then one that I had to put on the list just for me is Tasty King Donuts. And would you call it Madisonville, Tennessee, or would you call...
They have one in Madisonville and one in Sweetwater.
One in Sweetwater, one in Madisonville. So
that's our hometown.
Hometown where we're based out of. And Tasty King is one of the only places that I can find glazed chocolate donuts. And when I say glazed chocolate donuts, I don't mean a donut that has chocolate glaze. I mean a donut that has been glazed with sugar glaze and then has been topped with sugar or with chocolate. Sugar glaze, chocolate, chocolate glazed, glazed chocolate, whatever you want to call it. It's one of the only places I can find it. I absolutely love that kind of donut. They're soft, fluffy, super light in texture, sugar bomb. And the last time we were there, I discovered that they do this with their donut holes, and it's the way to go. So I'm just putting it on the list. I think it's fantastic. I love it. It's a small town donut shop. They're super friendly, great people. I love them to death. They remind me very much of Mary Lee Donuts in Baton Rouge, which, again, if Mary Lee was on the list, they would come out in first place. But they're not, so they won't. So...
And then that was also super fun because the way they do their donut holes is they have like, I don't know, it's maybe 8 or 10 donut holes in one of those little like
dishes,
paper boat dishes, and then they just blob chocolate icing on top of them, and it was definitely a winner.
It was fantastic. All right, so top 3. Are you going to do it in any particular order, or is it just your 3 favorites?
Is that all of our donut places?
That's all of our donut places.
No particular order, because I can't do that to donuts.
No particular order. Do you want me to go through one more time so that you have them fresh on your mind?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
You list yours first.
You want me to list mine first? All right. In no particular order, I would say that my 3 favorite donuts for the year would be Colonel's with their cake donuts, Kim's, and I'm going to have to say, oh man, I'm going to have to say North Country. It was so good. North Country was a really good donut. That fritter was amazing. I love the small town vibes. I love that she changes her menu once a week. I thought it was really, really, really good. This might be the tightest one that we have. We love donuts. I feel bad for the others for not putting them in my top 3. They all know I'm going to revisit them if I can. Look, we have this and we're saying these are our favorites, but if they're on this list, they're solid donuts. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them. And if they were lined up in a row, I would probably just close my eyes and walk in whichever door I fell in. Are you still trying to figure out?
I'm sitting here staring at pictures on my phone, trying to pick.
All right. 1, 2, 3, go.
North Country.
North Country.
In Vermont.
Yes.
Kim's. In Massachusetts.
So we agree on 2 out of 3.
2 out of 2 so far. And then I think I'm between Five Daughters and Colonel's.
Five Daughters is tough because we love Five Daughters so much. It's so hard to find a good cronut. And then, the chocolate salty cronut from Five Daughters is so dependable. I enjoy it every time I have it. It's so good.
I might agree with you though. I think I might go with Colonel's because those were just top notch.
Top notch. So good. So, you can find cronuts other places. They might not be as good as Five Daughters. They might be as good as Five Daughters. I don't know. I feel like it's easier to find a cronut that's as good as Five Daughters. I feel like that's easier to do than it is to find anywhere that does a chocolate cake donut as good as Colonel's does a chocolate cake donut. Their blueberry cakes were good.
What was the other flavor we got? I can't remember, and I don't have a picture of it. Well, I have a picture of it, but I didn't save it.
Pumpkin.
It was pumpkin.
Because it was seasonal.
Yeah.
So we got that. All right. So next, after...
Super excited for this category.
Super excited. More excited than donuts. Best ice cream of 2024. Much smaller category, but it's going to be hard. I already know which one you're going to pick.
Well, I was going to say, it's not a smaller, we probably had more ice cream places than donut places. Because if you didn't know, ice cream is a thing in New Hampshire.
Ice cream is a real big thing in New Hampshire, and this list could have been longer, but I think we were trying to narrow it down to the bests of the best. If you look at the country overall, the Northeast loves their ice cream more than anybody else. I don't know if anybody else in the country loves their ice cream as much as the people that just get absolutely destroyed in the winter. And these people make their own ice cream. There are more homemade, small batch ice creameries in this area than anywhere we've ever been. Most places you'll get a regional creamery and that's what everybody gets, and there's nothing wrong with it. You got Bluebell, you got Umpqua, you got North Cascade or Northern Glacier Cascade, Tillamook.
New Hampshire actually does an ice cream trail each year where they print out a little brochure of all of, I say all of, not necessarily all of, but most of, a lot of the ice cream shops in the state are on it, and then you can use it as a resource to figure out who makes their own ice cream, who uses their own dairy products, who gets,
or who even sources local dairy,
products, stuff like that. So that was a fun little resource to use while we tried to figure out, or tried to go to all of the New Hampshire homemade ice cream shops in the state.
All right. Starting the list off is Sweetwater Creamery. After we just got done talking about New Hampshire, we're going to start with Sweetwater Creamery in Sweetwater, Tennessee, home of Isaac, one of the greatest customer service oriented ice cream slingers in the world. If you ever run into Isaac, that man deserves all the money in your pocket. Please tip him. He's friendly. He's super engaging. He's the type of people that you want scooping your ice cream. Happy people scooping ice cream are the type of people that should be scooping ice cream. Sweetwater is small batch, lots of mix-ins. If you need to know anything about me, I want mix-ins. You can get away with a lot when it comes to ice cream if you cover up your faults with mix-ins. I want all the chunky, gooey goodness. And Sweetwater is great for that. We always have flavors that we enjoy there.
And they always have a ton of different flavors, which is nice.
They rotate through a lot of flavors, and for the most part, if you order a waffle dish, a waffle bowl, it is made fresh right there in front of you while you order your ice cream. And even if you don't have one made fresh right in front of you, I actually prefer the ones that have been sitting for a little while because they've crisped up a little bit, they break apart a little bit easier. But the fresh ones are really nice. Next, we have a slew of New Hampshire contenders. We have Lagos in Rye, New Hampshire, which Lagos was one of our first places that we went to. Lagos is mix-in heaven. They have all sorts of flavors. They had the panda. What was the panda that I got? The funky panda?
Funky panda. I was thinking chunky panda, but funky panda sounds right.
Funky panda was a cookies and cream ice cream with coconut, cookie pieces, and caramel. And it was absolutely fantastic. Cannot even put enough words. The words don't exist. The words aren't good enough to describe the Funky Panda at Lagos ice cream.
So, since we're talking about Lagos, we might as well go ahead and talk about Lone Oak. Just because Lagos, from what we could figure out, Lagos and Lone Oak, which
are owned by the same people.
Lone Oak is in Rochester, New Hampshire, and they're owned by the same people. Ice cream quality is the same, which is excellent. But they have some of the same flavors, but some flavors are only at one location or the other. So you can kind of pick and choose which one you want at which location.
You can't get Funky Panda at Lone Oak, but you also can't get Wookie Dough at Lagos.
But we only managed to get Wookie Dough once.
Wookie Dough was a one-off specialty flavor, but Lagos and Lone Oak, I would like to combine them into one. I think Whitney's hesitant to do that because then you just create a juggernaut powerhouse that's really hard to overcome. But they're essentially the same. They're very good. Their quality is matched one from the other. The most niche, well, I don't know if it's the most niche on the list, would be Super Secret in Bethlehem, New Hampshire. And Super Secret was one that we really enjoyed because you could go and get flavors that you weren't going to find anywhere else, such as honeycomb or blueberry streusel, wild blueberry streusel.
Mm-hmm.
They did a single origin milk chocolate flavor that was very good. It was a good spot. It was expensive. It was kind of the hipstery vibe. It wasn't the best service, so that kind of gets knocked a little bit for us because you go in and I want the smiling, friendly, engaging person at the ice cream shop. I'm a social butterfly, and they were kind of too cool for school, and they just wanted to know, what do you want? All right, move on. Give me your money. Let the next person order. It was good. We enjoyed it. The ice cream was always delicious.
Yeah, it was.
So, after Super Secret, we have Eiley's in Weir or Ware. Weare.
Was it Ware's Beach?
New Hampshire. Weir, New Hampshire. And I said Super Secret was niche, but as far as niche flavors go, Eiley's might have the niche category on lockdown.
But it was just one flavor. They had all the other standard flavors, but their niche flavor was the standout flavor. And I can already say it is my number one ice cream of the year. And that flavor is brown sugar oatmeal.
Brown sugar oatmeal from Eiley's was a very unique, very delicious, very one-of-a-kind flavor. If you like oatmeal, it was essentially raw oats. It wasn't even cooked oats because they weren't soft and gooey and gelatinous. They had some tooth to them.
It was basically oatmeal in ice cream form, and I've never seen it anywhere else, and it's my number one ice cream in the world now. So if anybody knows of anywhere else that does an oatmeal ice cream, let me know.
So that is our 5 ice creams for best ice cream of the year.
Are we not going to mention Eldridge? I know it's not ice cream.
Oh, you see, I had a whole nother category. That was going to be Best Maple Creamy, and Eldridge was going to win because it was the only one in the category.
Oh, it's not the only one in the category that we got, but it's the only one worth mentioning.
It's the only one that matters. So, on a side note, the Northeast, New Hampshire, has what's called Maple Creamies.
That originated in Vermont,
and it's essentially soft serve flavored with maple syrup. Now, you can get into it with some of these business owners as to some people use maple syrup concentrate and some people use actual maple syrup, and you're going to get somebody on their soapbox. Our favorite one was Eldridge Family Farm in Tamworth, New Hampshire. If you ever go up there, go to Eldridge, get a creamy, make sure it's large. If you're really feeling adventurous, do like Whitney and get a bubble cone. I don't even need to tell you what a bubble cone is. Just get a bubble cone. Don't ask. Just order it. It's going to take a couple of extra minutes, but it's fine. You're not in that big a hurry. The world is not ending yet. So, Eldridge wins as far as Maple Creamy goes, and if you want to include it on the ice cream category, then we can.
No, it can just be its own thing. Okay.
So you're saying Eiley's is your favorite ice cream. There's only 5 in this category, so we don't need to do 3. We just need to decide what's your favorite.
I already said my favorite. What's your favorite?
My favorite is Lagos. And if I can include Lone Oak, I will, but I will say Lagos because Funky Panda was absolutely delicious. And I'm perfectly fine with that. All right. Biggest category by far. This is going to take some time. This is going to be a problem. It's Best Bakery. Best bakery category. Whitney and I love bakeries. We love donuts. We love ice cream, but bakeries are
our most visited place, probably.
They're abundant. There are more people that open bakeries than there are people that make small batch ice cream or make donuts. Bakeries are just an easy, dependable place to go when you're in a town and you want a sweet fix and you want something really good. And for the most part, bakeries are really highly rated. A lot of people that get into baking care about what they do. And put a lot of work into their craft and have a lot of skill, and you have some that are world trained, world class, and produce something excellent. You have some people that just pick it up one day in their house and make world class, gooey, tasty goodies that are fantastic. So it's nice to have such a wide band of places to choose from home taught and people that went to school for it that are patisserie chefs or pastry chefs. All
right, you have the list in front of you, so you read them out and what we got, because I don't remember.
Brightside Bake Shop.
Delicious.
In Nashville, Tennessee. We love Brightside. It's fantastic. You would love Brightside too.
They do really good pastries, laminated dough.
You love the churro croissant.
That kind of thing. Top notch.
Moonshine Mountain Cookies in Knoxville, Tennessee are
cookies.
We can't say cookies because if people think cookies, they might think crumble, and these are definitely not crumble.
These are like small kind of, they're
oatmeal cookies.
I was gonna say, I don't know if they're all oatmeal, but I think they're all oatmeal based cookies.
It's almost like they took an ice cream scoop and scooped out the cookie dough, and you've got this mound in the center and then slightly spread edges, and it's absolutely fantastic. Moonshine Mountain Cookies is a go-to for us whenever we're in Madisonville. We go up to Knoxville, we have to get Moonshine Mountain Cookies. Elephantine Bakery in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Okay. Elephantine, we love. It's a small bakery. If you're ever in Portsmouth is fantastic. If you're a van lifer and you need a place on the East Coast to go, Portsmouth is very van friendly.
Super cute little town.
They have I don't want to say an abundance. They have a large amount of parking, but a lot of people know about it. So a lot of people park there. So sometimes it can be difficult to find parking. But if you put some effort into it, you can find a place to camp overnight in your van in Portsmouth. It's fantastic. It's a nice little town to walk around. They have a lot of food, but Elephantine Bakery is great. It's small. It's tight. I recommend if you ever get to go, order online ahead of time. Just go and pick it up. It's slightly easier that way. We enjoyed it very much.
What was it called? An egg simmet sandwich?
An egg simmet sandwich. And it was
a cinnamon roll and a cookie.
The brown butter brownies are hit or miss. If you're an edge person, then the edges are good. They're kind of cakey. They're kind of dry. If you're a center ooey gooey person and you get a centerpiece, then they're really good. But if you get one and not the other, then it can be kind of hit or miss.
Their cinnamon roll is really good. I got that twice.
Cinnamon roll is really good. Gemini Cafe and Bakery in Bethel, Maine.
This was a random little find, and it exceeded expectations.
It far exceeded expectations. Their cinnamon rolls are fantastic. Did we get a breakfast sandwich?
Not that I remember.
Not that I remember, but a lot of other people were getting breakfast sandwiches. They have bread. They have all sorts of stuff. It's just a really good bakery. Apple Shed Bakery in Reedfield, Maine. Appledorn Bakery.
This one?
Yeah. If you're a fan of Shorzy, then you might get that reference. But the Apple Shed Bakery was absolutely fantastic. They had a Danish that Whitney just glowed over for days. She couldn't get over it. I had a savory biscuit that was just delicious. I loved it. I'm probably using delicious too much, but sometimes delicious is the only word that can do. I loved their savory biscuit. I think everything we got from there was very good. I wouldn't discount anything from there. Polish Princess in Lancaster, New Hampshire was where we went, and we got a cinnamon roll and we got a muffin, and we sat outside at one of the tables and enjoyed our cinnamon roll and our muffin for breakfast, and were just absolutely blown away by how good they both were.
Super small town, super small bakery. Very
unexpected. Mama and Buddy had gone there and gotten a loaf of bread. She said they had gotten a jalapeno cheddar loaf of sourdough, possibly.
I don't remember.
She said they enjoyed their bread. We decided to go over there and try the wares, and we walked away very happy, obviously, because it's on the best bakery list. Next is Red Hen in Lancaster, Vermont. And I think this might have only made it on the list because of me. I thought Red Hen was delicious. We got a chocolate cake topped with cocoa nibs. We got a ginger cookie. I'm a sucker for ginger cookies. If you can make a good ginger cookie, you can make it on the best bakery list. I'll put you on there. Bribe me with ginger cookies. I don't care. I don't remember what else we got.
A chocolate croissant?
It was a chocolate almond croissant is what it was. It was all very good. Red Hen also, I'm not going to be able to remember the name of the wine shop. See if you can get to it real quick. There is a little wine and beer shop that is housed in the same building in Lancaster, Lancaster, Vermont. And this little wine shop has an owner who absolutely loves what he does.
You assume he's the owner.
We assume he's the owner. Reviews said that he was the owner. He behaved like the owner. He behaved like someone who owned a business and took pride in it and wanted his customers to walk away happy and with the product that they wanted. But we really enjoyed it. It doesn't matter. If Whitney can't find it, if you go to Red Hen, then you're going to see the wine shop because they are literally connected. If you walk in the door, one is on the right, one is on the left. Don't worry about it. We're moving on.
I don't know what town you said, but I think you said the wrong town. It's Middlesex, Vermont.
Is it Middlesex, Vermont?
Yes. Polish Princess is in Lancaster, New Hampshire.
Polish Princess is in Lancaster, New Hampshire. Red Hen
is in Middlesex, Vermont.
Is in Middlesex, Vermont. I'm sorry. I redact my previous statement. Red Hen is not in Lancaster. I apologize. It is in Middlesex.
And did you say the name of the wine shop?
I did not.
It's called The Local Wine and Beer.
The Local Wine and Beer. Go, give him your money, walk away with alcohol, be happy. Next on the list is Morrison's Fried Pies in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Arguably not a bakery, but
close enough.
The owner was extra friendly, very talkative. He needed a friend. I think he was bored of the young man that he worked with in the truck that you get these pies from. If he asks you if you would like to taste one of his fillings, be prepared for a meal, because this is not Cold Stone. You do not get a nibble. He gives you a full-on spoonful of filling, as he did Whitney when she wanted to taste his German chocolate filling. We got a German chocolate-filled fried pie. We got a peach fried pie. We got two savory fried pies. They were all delicious. If you ever go to Hot Springs, Arkansas, go to Morrison's Fried Pies. Get his fried pies. I don't know how many you got when you went because you listened to me and you went there and you took my advice, but you didn't get enough. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Get them all. Get duplicates. Don't share them. They're going to be amazing. You're going to thank me later. Allie's Baking Boutique in El Reno, Oklahoma, which we covered. Allie's is fantastic. The owner was super friendly. It's her dream to have a bakery. She puts it all out there. She does everything she can to run this bakery. What she makes is absolutely delicious. The brownies are the standout. Make it over there. Get anything. You won't be disappointed.
We'll definitely go back.
We'll go back anytime we're driving through there. Whitney's favorite is next on the list. Chubby Lil Mermaid in Seal Rock, Oregon. The Chubby Little Mermaid is a fantastic, whimsical little shop. They have what's called whale donuts. It has nothing to do with whales besides the fact that it's shaped like whales. They have a crisp exterior, light and fluffy interior, and I think the consistency for their maple glaze, we didn't get a chocolate, we got a maple. The consistency for their maple glaze is just about perfect as far as thickness, as far as ratio for frosting to dough, just all around delicious. We also got brownies from there, and their brownies were a very good trade-off for people that want a fully baked brownie, but still also want some ooey gooey fudginess.
Brownies were really good.
They're not as raw as Whitney and I would prefer, and they're not over-baked for what we would say. Other people would say they're baked properly. Whitney and I would say they were over-baked, but
we like brownie batter.
We like brownie batter. So, The Nest by Dodo. And I didn't put the city on here. So I don't have The Nest by Dodo. I don't know why I didn't put the city. They are in Oregon. We stumbled upon them on the way to Astoria. It's up near Astoria to the west in like Seaside or
I was gonna
something.
say it might be Seaside. I'm waiting for maps to load.
We got a savory biscuit from there that was delicious. We got a cinnamon roll, and we asked for extra drizzle on the cinnamon roll.
It's in Warrenton, so it's even closer to Astoria.
Warrenton, Oregon. Absolutely delicious. We also got a bear claw. I think Whitney is slowly starting to realize that she doesn't actually like bear claws, but every time she gets a bear claw and doesn't like a bear claw, she gives me the rest of the bear claw, and I love it. I think they're delicious. I really enjoyed it. I thought the bear claw was fantastic. I thought everything we got from the Nest by Dodo was fantastic. That's why they're on the list. Warrenton, Oregon. Absolutely worth the trip. Out in the middle of nowhere, though. Do I need to go through the list again for you to...
What is this?
That is Burke Bakehouse.
Oh, okay. My pictures are out of order.
Which we did not cover.
We talked about it earlier.
I skipped it just now. It's after Allie's and Chubby Little Mermaid. I jumped over it in excitement. Burke Bakehouse.
Oh, Albuquerque.
Albuquerque, New Mexico. We got a slice of coffee cake. That was fantastic. We haven't had coffee cake that good since we went to Porto's in Los Angeles. We got 2 cookies from there that I think I was more impressed with than you were, because they were both a little bit on the crispy side. They weren't chewy, dense, gooey cookies like you like. We got a Danish from there, and I don't quite recall what fruit the Danish was filled with, but it was fantastic. Is there anything else from the Burke that we got? It was just a really good all-around bakery. We really enjoyed it.
It's consistent.
Everything we got was good. So, are you going to do 3? You're going to do 3. Do I need to go through again?
No, I'm looking at pictures.
You're looking at pictures. While you're looking at pictures, I will go ahead and say that my 3 favorite bakeries of the year, in no particular order, would have to be... I'm going to start with Elephantine. Elephantine was just a fantastic find in Portsmouth. Part of this might just be because Portsmouth is so pretty, so friendly. We always have a place to park the van. I love that, so they get a little bit of an edge just for that. Elephantine Bakery. I would say Gemini Cafe and Bakery, because it was such an unexpected discovery in Bethel, Maine. I never would have thought that a bakery that good would just be in the middle of nowhere. Like, all these are just fantastic bakeries in the middle of nowhere. Notice the biggest city on the list for any of these is Nashville for Brightside Bake Shop. But I think my 3rd favorite bakery for the year would have to be... Oh, man. This is going to be tough, rounding out a 3rd on the list. I think I'm going to have to say Brightside Bake Shop, because Brightside was super dependable. They always have so much selection. We're in Nashville more often than not, so it's nice to have a place that you're familiar with. So I'm going to have to say Brightside, Elephantine, and Gemini Cafe are my 3 favorite for the year.
We agree on 1.
We agree on 1. I think we agree on Gemini Cafe. No? What are your 3?
So I'm going to go with the one we agree on.
Okay.
Brightside.
Brightside.
Just
solid choice.
Reliable.
Yes.
So reliable. And then I'm going to say Allie's.
Allie's. I almost went with Allie's.
I want to go back and try more.
Yeah.
Like, if I had to just choose somewhere that I would go back to, it would be there.
And she was a sweetheart. She returned my emotional support water bottle to me when I left it there. She chased us down
the sidewalk with his water. And then I think my 3rd is going to be Moonshine Mountain. Because I love their cookies.
Their cookies are really good.
I'm a sucker for a good cookie.
I'm looking through this list and my eyes kept going to Moonshine, and I don't know why I didn't pick them. It's just there are too many good options. Again, we have this list and it sounds like we're picking 3 and the others kind of just fall to the wayside. Any of these are amazing places. Any of these are places that are worth going to. They're all very good. We go to a lot of places, so it's nothing against them. Next category is pizza. And for our best pizza, we have Mason's Brewing Company in Bangor, Maine. Mason's is where you always create our pizza for us. You don't order off the menu, you build your own.
If you want to go, let me know and I'll tell you what to get. And it's delicious.
Mason's Brewing Company is good.
The rest of our places, we only have 3 others, and all of them are out on the West Coast that we've gone to since we've been to Crescent City.
Yeah, so we've got Zola's on the Water in Brookings, Oregon. Zola's is just a nice place that we like to go. It's 20 minutes away. If we want beer, they have a decent beer selection. If Whitney wants wine, they have a decent enough wine selection. Otherwise, we just keep it cheap and get water. They have excellent breadsticks, and then the pizza is just really solid. It's just a good pizza. We really enjoy it. We never have anything to complain about. Next on the list, Groundlings Pizza in Gold Beach, Oregon, which we went to on our trip up the 101 to Astoria. I got some meatballs with that whipped ricotta that was so good, with the little oven baked bread,
like,
flatbread that came out that Sandy got a giant chunk of. Because she's a bad dog and she likes to eat things off the table when we're not looking. Their pizza was really good. I don't want to hold it against them. We ordered 2 pizzas. One of them was very good. It was PAF, pepperoni AF. Decipher that. Yes, it means what you think it means. And then we got another one
that is not our normal
that is not our
choice.
Not
Jake
our normal type of pizza.
Wild hair and decided he wanted something different and regretted it.
Yeah, I messed up. The pizza that we picked wasn't our favorite kind of pizza, but Groundlings deservedly is on this list. And then the last one on the list is Crab Rock Pizza in Garibaldi, Oregon, which you're not going to stumble across. You have to go here. If you want to go here, you're going here, and you know you're going here. Crab Rock Pizza was fantastic. Definitely Whitney's least favorite because it costs 3 times more than any of the other pizzas on this list. But I thought it was fantastic, so it's on the list.
Pick one.
I have to pick one?
Pick one.
If I have to pick one... So, are we going... Yeah,
Do you want to pick 2?
No, I can pick one. I think my one favorite would have to be... If they were all lined up next to each other and I could only walk into one of them and get one pizza, I'm going to Crab Rock.
I'm going to Mason's.
Really?
Yeah.
The Mason's pizza's really good. I almost wanted to say Zola's.
Me too. Zola's is number 2 for me.
Yeah, Zola's is solid number 2. I think Crab Rock's number 1 for me. I thought it was just absolutely delicious pizza. Best brewery of the year. We didn't do a lot of breweries this year. We drank a lot of cans this year. It's much cheaper to buy 4-packs and drink on your paddleboard or drink parked looking at the ocean for hours on end when you're done for the day. Yeah, it's just much easier to drink 4-packs, much cheaper to drink 4-packs and not drink at breweries. But when we do find ourselves at a brewery, our options for best brewery this year are Zool in Knoxville, Tennessee. We have Southern Grist in Nashville, Tennessee. Hudson Valley, which unfortunately, I don't have a city.
Hudson Valley?
For Hudson Valley Brewery. It is in the Hudson Valley region of New York. If you know your regions and you heard Hudson Valley and said, hey, I know that's a part of New York, you would be correct. Hudson Valley Brewery is in that area of New York. Whitney's looking right now.
Trying
to.
My phone's not functioning well.
We can come back to it. True North in Ipswich, Massachusetts, which might be the biggest surprise on the list. I think if you're a beer person, you could have possibly heard of all of the breweries on this list. True North is the one sleeper of the list. Super, super, super delicious. Excellent lagers, excellent pales. They had a very wide selection. You didn't walk in and see 6 IPAs on the board and 6 DIPAs and some pastry stouts, and that was everything they had. They had a very wide, very good selection of wine. Did you get it?
Beacon, New York.
Beacon, New York is where Hudson Valley is. Just want to make sure I put that city out there. Next on the list is Oxbow, which is Portland, Maine. Oxbow, again, little more of a niche saison type place. They do lagers. They don't do a lot of the hazy boys and a lot of the super popular hypey beers that you see out there now. But Oxbow is just a nice place, nice environment, dog friendly inside to be able to go and sit and enjoy some really, really, really good beer. Agile Brewing in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Another one of those. If you want to be able to walk into a place, if you don't like beer, if you've never had beer, if you want to know the different kinds of beers, Agile is the place to go because Keith has just about every beer style available at one point or another. And if he has it on tap, then it is an award level beer being brewed. He could win an award in any category on any day. The man taught me how to brew. He is my god. I will never say anything bad about him. Go to Agile, give him your money, say hey to Stephanie, and tell her how cute her dogs are. Last on the list is Treehouse. There are multiple locations. We go to the one in Charlton, Massachusetts. It's beautiful. Treehouse just builds absolutely amazing tap rooms and fills it with absolutely delicious beer. That is, if you like hazy beers and big stouts and barley wines and lagers, which is where I'm sold because they have an entire bar that is dedicated to just lagers and side pulls with lots and lots of cloudy, foamy head. And it's delicious and amazing. And I'm perfectly fine giving Treehouse Whitney's money every time we're in the area. Do you have a favorite on the list, or do I need to go first?
I feel like I have to say Treehouse
Yeah.
because they always have a wide variety and it's a beautiful facility and I like looking at the koi fish.
Yeah, Treehouse is my pick for sure. Treehouse is just, they always have something. Japanese rice lager, pilsners, dry hopped lagers, pale ales, Czech lagers, dark Czech lagers, IPAs, double IPAs. We're not a huge fan of their stouts, but every once in a while they'll make a stout that I can stomach. Yeah, definitely Treehouse. We also have on the list. Is that everything?
That's everything.
That might be everything. I think that takes care of everything on the list. I was going to say we have Best Maple Creamy on here, but we already covered Best Maple Creamy. Eldridge Family Farm wins. So, that is our 2024 year in review. That catches you up to where we are. That brings us to Crescent City, California. We have made a couple of trips since we've gotten here. We've got a few more episodes lined up for our travels that we've done since we've been in Crescent City. We'll be able to be a little more specific with our little trips and go into a little more detail. Sorry if this felt a little rushed or hectic at times. We're new to this. Please forgive us.
Sorry it was so long also. All of our episodes won't be this long.
2 hours is nothing. There are people that listen to like 3-hour crime, like 8-hour episode crime drama.
If
crazy.
You're like me, you lose interest after about 45 minutes or an hour though.
If you've made it this far, we appreciate it. Thank you. You can find us on Instagram at TAC_the Audacious Coddiwomplers. We will post photos there to give you little behind the scenes tidbits of what we have going on. That'll let you see what we're doing as we're doing it, and you'll be able to kind of follow along with us. You'll be able to get an idea about what we're doing. But besides that, I think that's all we have. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight, and we'll see you next time.
See y'all later.
Bye.